Hello and welcome to Think About It, where we have two primary goals. One, to get you to think about it, and two, just to make more sense. And Keith Olbermann. Well, our president has traveled abroad and just gave a speech in Egypt, a speech that defies belief, credibility, and logic. I've come to a conclusion, and it's actually an unfortunate one, because when our president travels overseas, he carries with him kind of a reflection of what the American people stand for. And I'm left with a very stark question. Because as we look at some of the highlights of the speech, there can be no doubt that it lacks factual accuracy. I mean, I don't care if you've been mainlining the Obama Kool-Aid 24/7 for the last 60 days. Even those people, the ones who chant and make up songs about Obama, the ones who are bleary-eyed and follow his every move, even those Kool-Aid drinkers and zealots have to admit that this speech was filled with utter and blatant inaccuracies, factual errors. It doesn't matter if you attended one of the Chicago schools that Bill Ayers helped to remake, even those kids get an education that tells them some of these things are just flat out false. So we have to ask a question. Is our president truly, totally ignorant, or being intentionally misleading? I'm not going to go through the entire speech because it's too long, about 6,000 words, and some of them were perfectly fine. But there were some very, very troubling statements made during this speech. The final one I'll save here for the grand finale, but first let's look at a couple of them. As Obama, instead of complimenting the way that our troops have come alongside to defend the freedom of the people in Islamic countries, because that's what we're doing. In fact, 3 soldiers were killed today by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Not a word about that in the speech. Instead, he spends a majority of his time defending those who follow Islam. For instance, how about this litany of things that Islam has contributed to our culture? A direct quote. I'm not going to add anything to these. I'm not going to augment them in any way. He says, it was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra. Our magnetic compass and tools of navigation. Did you ever realize that some of the early explorers already had compasses and navigation tools? And I don't think they were Muslim. Our mastery of pens and printing. Now, I did go to school, and I remember that Gutenberg was the guy with the printing press. I don't remember him being Muslim. It doesn't sound like the name that I would recognize as one being Muslim. So he's given them credit so far for algebra, compasses, navigation, pens. Thank you for the pen. And printing. Here we go. Our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed. I have never once heard of any Muslim being given a Nobel Prize for curing a malady that's afflicted the globe. Islamic culture has given us majestic arches and soaring spires. Won't the Romans be thrilled to learn that some of the architecture they're famous for is now being attributed to the Muslims? Does it really matter? Not really. But is it accurate? Not a chance. Timeless poetry and cherished music. I'll pause here while you recite back for me some of your favorite Muslim poetry. I think that ought to cover it. Elegant calligraphy and places of peaceful contemplation. All right, I'll give them that. Those people have some handwriting. Whew! Thank you. For those of us who struggle to write legibly, I defer to my Muslim counterparts. Here we go. Issues of women's equality are by no means simply an issue for Islam. In Turkey, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, we have seen Muslim majorities electing women to lead. Meanwhile, the struggle for women's equality continues in many aspects of American life and in countries around the world. Wait a minute. Why is it that every time you travel somewhere that requires a passport, you have to demean the country that sent you and that's paying for your trip? What rights do women in America not currently have? Let's see. Obviously, voting, you're in. Employment discrimination has been barred by law. But they even have the right to kill children. some of which are being delivered. Yet he feels the need to apologize for where our women here in America are. One more, and this is the finale, and this is the one that just blows my mind. And for all of you Kool-Aid drinkers who have hung with the video this long, congratulations. I cannot wait to see what you say about this direct quote. And throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality. The possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality. Religious tolerance? Is that what it is? Is that the definition of strapping a bomb to your kid and sending him into a crowded marketplace? Is that what it is? Is that what the Quran teaches? Because there are some sections of the Quran that don't teach tolerance. Now, maybe I'm missing the point here, but I always thought that blowing up people who believe different things than you was not tolerant. I mean, in that sense, you could say that the person who killed George Tiller was being tolerant, and I don't think any of us thinks that's the case. Religious tolerance, stoning a woman for baring her wrist in public. Ladies and gentlemen, that is perhaps the most outrageous statement I've heard from a politician, including Bill Clinton, in my lifetime. That Islam has set the example for religious tolerance. Hey, try running a cartoon that somehow depicts the religion in a less than flattering way. See what kind of a hiding you get to go in for the rest of your days. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you this question in closing. Is he truly, totally, and completely ignorant, or being intentionally misleading? We all agree that those facts are inaccurate. So what's the explanation for including them in a speech to the world? Can't wait to hear your answers. For those of you with the Kool-Aid in both hands, put it down for a minute and think about it.